Dirty folks, dirty folks, dirty folks. No soap, no soap.
Welcome to the Dirty Folks podcast. I am Dirty Folks. Now, check this out, man. They're trying to revoke the law Roe versus Wade, right? Which gives women the constitutional right to get an abortion. Let me tell you something real quick. If you believe that marijuana should be legal, if you believe racism still exists, then you need to back Judge Alito on this. Supreme Court Judge Alito is going at the helm of child euthanism. That's what I'm going to call it, euthanization. Right? Now, here's the thing. I'm going to read a couple of the things from the note that he sent to the SCOTUS, but I need you to understand. Get out your feelings. Law is law. Let's check out what's going on here. For real, for real. I'm getting old. I had to put on my reading glasses. Okay, so this is from the initial draft. What it says is, Roe was not constitutional law at all and gave almost no sense of obligation of trying to be. At the time of Roe v. Wade, 30 states still prohibited abortion at all stages. In the years prior to that decision, about a third of the states had liberalized their laws, but Roe abruptly ended that political process. It imposed the same highly restrictive regime on the entire nation and effectively struck down the abortion laws of every single state, as Justice Byron White aptly put in his dissent. Okay, so let me tell you what that means. Okay. Regardless of what they tell you, the United States is a republic, right? To the republic for which we stand, right? The democracy is you vote in your representatives to represent you in the republic. But it is not the nation's job to create laws, right? Even Obamacare is pretty much illegal. It's going to get struck down. They had to take Obamacare and change it from a health issue to a tax issue, which is why poor people like Obamacare is great, even though it's not really that much different than the state insurance they already had if they were on public aid. And people who actually work jobs are like, it's horrible. My premiums went up 3 times more. I got a friend that went from paying $280 a month to almost $1,400 a month because he's a family of 4. It's bananas because they had to create a tax law. A lot of these things are not constitutional law. It's just things that politicians want to get done in their term in order to appease to their constituents so they can get reelected. So I need you to understand this. Abortion is a local, statewide. Abortion is a statewide thing. You have to understand how big the United States is. Every single state is the size of a country in Europe. Every state is the size of an entire country in Europe. If we weren't conquered by the British, we wouldn't all speak English. You would literally have, if it's 48 states, you would have 36 different languages, 12 different religions. You would need a passport to go from New York to New Jersey. America is huge. So you have to understand that every state has the right to ensure the quality of life in their province. Right? This was a liberal law. You got to understand that all these black folks is liberal, especially the Keishas. Oh my God, them Democrat. But every time the Democrats do something, they mess up everything moving, and then all the black people move to Republican states. They move to Georgia. They move to Texas. They move to Florida. They move to California, which just turned liberal, and people trying to leave California now. But California was Republican for a long time, and people wanted to go to more conservative states for a better life. So everything liberals do is horrible unless you're dead broke, right? And you're just into chaos. Kalima, do as thou wilt. Besides that, it's horrible. So, in order for them to strike down the constitutional law of abortions being on the constitutional books. So when Texas says we don't want to do abortions here, but New York says, yo, you can do abortions at 8 months. And California says, we'll let you kill your baby up to 10 days after the birth. You can have a super late term abortion. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own policy because everybody's their own providence. So, I think it's a great move for the same reason that marijuana is still illegal on the books. It was a racist law. So is abortion. You gotta understand. You know, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna come back to how abortion and marijuana match. But let's get back into this POTUS thing, this SCOTUS thing. Alito continues. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one in which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. That provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution, but any such right must be deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition, and implicit upon the concept of the ordered liberty. Translation on that real quick. When the Constitution was made, they understood that black people were human beings, right? When they say you're 3/5, they're not saying you're 3/5 of a man. What they're saying is states were trying to use their population and gain a greater influence in the Senate. I'm sorry, not the Senate, in the House of Representatives. So the South wanted to use slaves as part of their census count so they could have more reps. And the North was like, nah, because they can't vote. So the agreement was that slaves were counted as 3/5 of the population. Not 3/5 of a person, 3/5 of a population. Now, when the slaves became free in the 13th Amendment, the issue was, now what do we do about voting rights? Because a lot of people didn't have voting rights unless, at that point, you didn't have voting rights unless you're a homeowner in America anyway. All the things that girls complain about, that was America. Oh, we couldn't own a house. Most Americans couldn't. Oh, we couldn't have bank accounts. Bank accounts didn't become popular till the 1920s when the FDIC was created. Nobody had a bank account. Everybody had money under their mattress. Toddlers gonna toddle. They try to guilt you, but they just horrible human beings, but I digress. So, the 14th Amendment was saying that slavery can still be valid in times of crime to create servitude, which is why there were a lot of black people during Jim Crow who were getting 15 years for loitering, who, even though they didn't have a slave master anymore, they had to carry a letter from their employer going back and forth to prove they had a job. It was like some real Gestapo type stuff. That's why I don't see why people mad at the Nazis. The Nazis literally copied their playbook from Jim Crow. Study for once, man. Anyway, so that's what they're saying. They're saying if it wasn't in the Constitution, then it shouldn't be. If it wasn't in the Constitution as drafted, anything that's added to the Constitution has to be related to how the Constitution was drafted. Okay, cool. You gotta understand that, man. There's a lot of things, because America's racist. A lot of things were done because of race, right? The reason that marijuana is illegal on the books in the Constitution is because white women want to sleep with black men. White girls want to swirl, so they would lynch the black girls and want to swirl with the white guys, and they would incarcerate the white girls and want to swirl with black guys. And they said marijuana was the reason that white women swirl going to those jazz clubs and smoking weed and sleeping with the jazz musicians. So they made weed illegal. It was a totally racist move. Had nothing to do with health and safety. Next, and y'all know about Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger said, man, we want to euthanize black kids, so they paid all the black pastors. Always the black pastors. They your ops. Yo. Anyway, they paid the black pastors to encourage black women to have abortions. The Supreme Court struck it down and said that's racist. You can't make it just for black women. So they changed the name to Planned Parenthood and made it for all women, but they only put Planned Parenthood stations in black locations. But I digress. So they made abortions legal to give black women the opportunity to kill more kids, which they done a great job of. Since it was designed, they've killed 65 million kids, which means, based on the fact it's been over the course of 45, 50 years, that means that the 65 million kids they killed would have been somebody's great grandkid right now. You got to say the average person has 2 kids, so that's a multiplier of 8. So instead of having 46 million African Americans, that's dumb as shit, tawny and swarthy men in Chicago, in America, instead of having 46 million, you'll be closer to 127 million. Had these chicks not kept killing everything moving. And they always had a baby by the one night stand, but kill a good dude, baby, that they want to be stepdad to somebody else's kid. So they created the constitutional right for abortion so your Keishas could toddle at the highest level. And they were not disappointed. But now, because of whatever the case, you gotta give it up to the Supreme Court judge on this one, yo, because he's doing God's work. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna, the same way that marijuana is illegal, but it's legal in LA and in Colorado and certain states, but every state is not legal. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way that abortion should be. It's a local issue, right? If you don't like it, move somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? I agree with it, because the more laws that's based on a federal level, the less freedoms that you have. These chicks act like we don't have the freedom to kill our babies. They'll still be able to kill their babies just fine. It'll still be legal in Illinois. It'll still be legal in New York. It'll still be legal in California. Wherever the hell they have a professional football team outside of Texas, them girls can still go to the chop shop. They're not taking away women's rights to kill everything moving, right? All they're doing is saying it's not a constitutional law, it's a local law, and they're giving Americans a little breathing room. So y'all should endorse this, man, because it was racist in the first place, and it's sexist because it has nothing to do with all Americans, just women. Y'all should, if anything, y'all should be tired of laws that's catered to just women. Anyway, so I'm out on this one. Make sure that you guys tribe up. But before you go tribe up, as always, you gotta take tolerology course. You know what I'm saying? Because the number 2 rule in life is don't get killed by a nigga over a chick. So you gotta take tolerology to prove that you ain't gonna kill niggas over a chick. Anyway, as always, love each other as you love yourself. Feed the pack.